Hey, everybody, we are back. It is time for another ZEISS Conversations. We've got a bunch of people here you're going to be excited to see. We're going to talk about some things going on, how you can best use YouTube, to kind of get a new audience out there for you. We're going to focus on creatives and artists and the use of different styles of media. So, without further ado, let me bring all of my guests into the room here. You see them all now. In the upper left is ZEISS Ambassador Tracy Page. She is a Sony shooter, shoots with the Otis lens, does a lot of portrait work. Lower left is Kenneth Hines. He is also a ZEISS ambassador and Sony shooter, does a lot of street work as well as weddings and other events. And in the lower right, a man who needs no introduction is joining us today is Mr. Jason Vong, a Sony
Got it.
shooter and does just about, he's fast becoming an excellent YouTube personality. And he's going to help us learn how to best use YouTube to try and expand your audience. So without further ado, I'll leave it over to the experts. Welcome, everybody.
Hey, welcome. This is Wilma. So she's going to be with us today. She's our anxiety dog. And I know a lot of us are feeling a little bit of that anxiety. We're home, we're trying to learn, we're trying to reach new media, new markets. And a lot of us have questions about things we've never done before. And for me, YouTube is something that I'm brand new to. Ken has more experience than I do, but Jason has a ton of experience. So today we're going to spend some time with Jason talking about how we as creatives can take advantage of YouTube. Hey, Jason,
Absolutely.
welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me, guys. Hopefully, I can help provide some answers to some questions that you guys have. I know you guys are curious about YouTube yourself, so I think it's going to be a fun conversation to have with everyone in the chat. And I think we're taking in questions from the chat as well, right? As we go through
We are.
the live.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
So start us off with what's the best way to get on and utilize. Let's start with setting up a channel. I think that's probably the first thing
Right.
that we all need to be able to do.
Channel wise, I mean, like anything, like like for me, how I personally got started was just out of learning the cameras, right? Like I probably would say I'm a student of like photography, YouTube photography school and YouTube video school. So obviously, I learned a lot about how to use a camera, how to take a photo, how to take videos, and for me, I kind of started off using Canon cameras, Panasonic cameras, and then eventually, when Sony became like the hot camera that everyone is using, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this out. But unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of content on YouTube about Sony cameras at the time. This was like back in 2015. So I was like, why don't I just kind of give back to the community and supply some content about how to use a Sony camera, how to take these photos, kind of contribute back to the community that I learned so much from. So that's one aspect of how I personally got into YouTube. But a lot of people, I would say, it's just either maybe sharing a talent that they have, maybe whether it be through photography, through acting, through a passion too. I see a lot of people with passion start a YouTube channel, whether it be playing video games or talking about their favorite movies, reviewing household items. There's the possibility is endless. So I would say, what is something that you're interested in, right? Start with that. What's your passion? Throw that passion out into the YouTube world and share that excitement. I think being on the YouTube landscape, for I would say uh 10 years now, right? My channel has been around for about 5 years for this current Sony YouTube channel, but I've been trying out YouTube for like 10 years. So seeing the landscape change to what is a place for passion, for personality, it is now. So definitely don't be afraid to show off who you are on YouTube.
Well, something like that. So you have that in your mind as far as what you might be interested in doing that on YouTube. And then comes the some people's thoughts of, well, how do I grow my YouTube channel? How do I actually get an audience to watch what I'm doing? So once you have that, Jason, how do you go about connecting with people, connecting with people that are probably interested in what you're doing? How do you actually get a community like that um, on YouTube?
That's a fantastic question. That is a fantastic question for any social media platforms that we're talking about today, right? Everything is so saturated. You're talking about YouTube, you're talking about Instagram, you're talking about Twitch TV. I mean, like that's a new platform right now. It's a live streaming service for video game players to stream their content. And I've been trying that out. It's just like it's kind of very reminiscent to how I started on YouTube. How do we get people interested in watching you for your content, right? And unfortunately, and fortunately, the process is it's a grind. You know, you got to start off with that one person, right? You got to get that one person interested. You'd be like, hey, like watch my stuff. You like my stuff, follow my stuff. And then you keep connecting with that one person and then move on to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5, to 6. It's a grind. I mean, like you may not get, you know, 1 subscriber per day, but if you can keep getting 1 or 2 every month and then keep snowballing that effect, that's honestly the way to do it. For me personally, how I grew the channel was, you know, going through that grind, joining all the potential photography groups, you know, people who might be interested in learning this certain thing I want to show off on video. So I joined a lot of Sony groups on Facebook, and I'm just like, hey guys, like, check this out. Like, I put this tutorial out there, I put this review out there, and slowly, I gained that traction and gained that following. And I think right when I first started, you know, it's definitely a lot easier to manage with all the comments coming in and all the people who are interested. Nowadays, it's a little bit harder to try to respond back to everyone, but whenever I can, it's just keeping that engagement going and keeping yourself active in the community. And after a while, you know, those people would just, you know, keep following you for what you do.
Hey, awesome. Because for my YouTube, we've talked about this, and compared to you, I'm terrible when it comes to keeping up my YouTube channel. Because sometimes I just the editing part is always my trouble with YouTube.
That is my part too.
And so if you're trying to really build a community on YouTube, how important is it to be consistent? Because that's something that you're very good about with your channel, and having consistent content to where you keep people engaged and coming back for more on your channel. So how important is that?
Well, Kenneth, is the same thing. How do you facilitate your engagement on Instagram? You answer all your DMs. You answer way more DMs than I do on Instagram. So I don't know how you do it. So I guess what our commonality is that, you know, we strive to perform the best on the platform with the most engagement for ourselves, and we're also working on the other platforms that we may not have as much engagement, but you know, we're still pushing through it. And I kind of lost track of your question. What was it again?
So I don't even know. Help me out, Tracy.
I know you were asking about engagement, but let's go back to a creative who's just getting started on YouTube. Tell me what they need to do to get started. Where does this journey start?
I'm sorry. One more time. What was the question again? I kind of lost you out there for a bit.
To a creative who's just looking at YouTube, getting started with their own channel for the first time, where does the journey start? What do they do to get started?
Like in terms of making their first video?
Or making their first video, making their first channel, getting their first content up. How do they market it? Tell people that it's out there. How do they connect?
Okay, absolutely. So we just start off with the first video, right? Like what is something that you feel very passionately, strongly about? I think you don't need to waste too much time on introduction, as I think right from the get-go when it comes to YouTube is just getting the content out there. So how everyone starts is different, but you need to captivate that audience first. So I kind of tell a lot of new YouTubers who are just jumping into the scene, like, don't have a 1 minute long introduction for your video. Don't have like fancy 1 minute intro playing in your video. Just kind of get right into it. And from there, just really let your personality take over. Like right from the get-go, have some of your personality and nothing too much where it really kind of distracts people from the video. But I would say, like, put out that first video, whatever topic you feel strongly about, whether it be like a skit, maybe a comedy skit. You can throw out a comedy skit right from the get-go. Or if you're going for a more informative channel, you know, what are people asking right now? You know, really just go for answering that question, providing that answer to someone. So for me, when I was doing the whole YouTube channel, when I first started with the Sony Alpha, was that I was curious about adapting lenses on my Sony, right? So let's just say this is back in 2015. Sony didn't have a lot of lenses at the time, and I don't think I think a couple bodice lenses came out, but there weren't a whole lot of options, and people were having to adapt lenses. So obviously, the questions for those would be like, hey, how does this lens perform on this camera? So I was like one of the main suppliers for those videos. I was like, hey, look, I got this adapter right here. I'll be playing around with this lens or this lens. Like, click on my video, check it out. Go promote that to a spot where you know that people exist who want that answer. I would say that's a good way to get started.
And
So
that's a
how
good
do you let people know that there are videos out there? I'm noticing as I'm getting into this that I can't really tag other people. That ability seems to be gone. Are there keywords that it searches somewhere? I mean, how do I get my content to be seen?
Okay, so let's talk about the title of your we'll start off with the title, right? We got to make it searchable on the Google engine first. So
Hmm.
whatever is your video about, let's get that in the title and get that in the description so it's searchable on Google. That's first and the most important thing. The second important thing I would say is, for me, I joined a lot of photography Facebook groups, right? You join it, you got to get yourself connected in the community and share those video with the community. So I don't know what your latest video was about, Tracy, but let's start off with that. Give me some examples.
Oh, I haven't even started yet. So I'm
I
like
think that's one of
brand spanking new,
Yeah,
but
I'll give you a hint. That's where Tracy's questions are coming from, Jason.
Yes.
I actually for the ZEISS brand, we've been putting quite a bit of content out on the channel for ourselves, but driving viewership has been a real challenge. And I'll be honest, I've stolen quite a few little tricks, and I see you do either with adding thumbnails to the imagery, as well as perhaps changing the naming conventions that I use. Rather than say this is a baddest skater video, I just called it night skate, and it seems to do better. It's those little kinds of things that'll stop somebody in their tracks, and they'll say, hey, maybe I'll take the 2 minutes and watch this video.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's definitely harder, uh, but it, it's just sharing that video. Like having like I said, right from the beginning, it's just finding that one person to watch the video and then focus on just keep engaging that small audience. And that small audience will grow your channel as long as you maintain that consistency and building that relationship with people. Those are the people that will be sharing your videos.
So here's something to kind of add to that a bit, and you kind of segued into this as far as don't have like a 1 minute intro in your videos. If
Mhm.
it's your first video, what's kind of like a nice timing to have for your initial video? Is there a certain limit to, do you want to do a 10-minute video or do you want to do a 2-minute video? Does it just depend on the content that you're doing, or do you think there is some kind of a kind of a sweet spot to go to if you're just starting out?
I really think it's just getting it to the point when it comes to YouTube video, regardless if it's a 2-minute video, 10-minute video, you just kind of get right into the point. Cause then I think as you upload more and more video over time, people will start to know who you are. And once you captivate that audience, you're at that level where it's like, okay, I have 500 subscribers, 1,000 subscribers. That's when you can kind of stretch it a little bit and be like, hey, by the way, I'm a wedding filmmaker. I do a lot of these things right here. I have a gig, yada yada yada. You can actually start expanding on your intro. But the first and foremost is kind of let your work and the content speak for itself rather than you having to tell your audience, I would say. And YouTube also has a thing called channel trailer. So if you want to, you can make a 2-minute trailer kind of introducing yourself and have that on the page of your YouTube channel. So if people click on the channel, they can see and they can watch it if they want to and kind of learn 2 minutes worth of information about who you are and what you do.
I think I just saw yours. Jason, didn't you've got one on yours, I think.
That's a funny thing. I don't think I had a channel trailer. I've never really made a channel trailer. I kind of use that spot as an advantage for whoever's coming in to just see like a
Okay.
video that I want them to watch.
Right.
Right. Like
Okay.
I specifically place a video where it's just like, okay, I know this video is going to help the majority of the people out there. So I kind of placed it where the channel trailer would be. But I've seen other people put a channel trailer on their channel and it kind of introduces people to who they are and what they do. Sort of like a little autobiography, but a 2-minute autobiography.
So I do have the documentary video that ZEISS did on me. I have that on there. So that's, I've got something out there, but
Yeah,
There
we're
you go.
trying to get you together with your YouTube channel, Tracy. I'm trying to work with you. We're all in this
yeah.
together.
Well, and I'm doing a project next week with Sony, and they're going to talk to me about migrating to the Sony system, because I've been a Nikon shooter most of my career. So we're gonna go through that, about how to migrate to a mirrorless system. And it was just so funny, because they're like, "Do you want to put this on your channel?" And I'm like, "What channel? I don't have a channel." I'm totally at a loss for this, but I think I find myself in the same position that most creatives are in right now. We're home because of COVID. We're trying to find other outlets. I know that I have a lot to teach and offer, but I don't have any experience or knowledge about YouTube. Ken's been teaching me about Instagram Live. This is all brand
It's a
new to
wild
me.
beast, isn't it? It's a wild beast,
It
isn't it?
really is.
Yeah.
Well, I think, for me, I work so much that I never stop long enough to think about this stuff. And now I'm stopped. So I'm having to figure it all out. So
Kind of like as far as where you are, Tracy, and this being something new to you, and what Jason is sharing is kind of guiding you and creating your YouTube channel, and then we've collaborated with our Instagram lives. Jason, how important is collaborations in doing something like this, especially at a time like this? And the reason I bring that question up is because you and I collaborated a few months ago back in New York,
Yeah.
on a video, and your interview of me was actually the first time I've ever collaborated with someone on YouTube. And from that, so many people, and even today, are still going to that video, and it's being useful and helpful for them. And that has helped my communities as far as what I'm doing. And we really do a lot as far as playing off of one another. You share content that I love sharing and promoting to my community, and vice versa. So how important is that in this type of scope, in doing collaborations?
I think at a point in time, years ago, collaboration was definitely one of the forefront ways of growing your audience, because you have someone else who may have a larger audience than you to shout you out. And I think this time around, it's a little bit harder. You kind of have to let your I keep going back to personality, but there's a lot of truth in that. People want to find someone that's relatable. Just because someone shouts you out on one platform, people will come in, but are they going to stay? Are they going to stay for who you are? And I think largely what really sparked for our video, which I'm totally blown away how it has 560,000 views right now, maybe even more. I don't know. But instead of just collaborating for the sake of collaboration, I focus on someone that inspires me, which is you and your photography. I was like, holy cow, this guy's street photography makes me want to go out and do some street photography. And the way that I saw you lay out your presentation in New York at Photo Plus, we had this we had this trade show back in October in New York, and I saw Kenneth present. I was like, dude, this guy has something. I'm gonna interview him, and we're gonna put that video out there. And lo and behold, not only did I learn so much from Kenneth, but so many other people who were watching the video just got so inspired. So I think really just when it comes to collaboration, I think that what worked for me was just finding someone who inspires me, and it definitely worked out. So I would say collaboration now is you should do it because you want to do it, not so much as collaborating with someone else just for the sake of collaboration and growing your audience.
So we have a great question here from Brandon Cunningham. Can a photographer exist in the forefront these days without YouTube?
I think so. I definitely think so. When it comes to, if we're are we talking about no social media platforms period, or some social media platforms period? Because there are a lot of thriving photographers on Instagram and even TikTok now. I've seen
Yes.
really amazing talents on TikTok sharing their photography too. So it's just really tapping into a platform and just making yourself known out there. So it's not really, I would say YouTube channel, it's totally not necessary, but using some sort of social media platform to get your work out there is necessary in some way. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're, especially you see some photographers where they just dominate on one platform as opposed to another. Do you, how do you feel as far as that type of structure where if you have one platform, say it's Instagram, for example, and you dominate on that and you don't really, say, I don't really need the other platforms as much, I'm not going to use those. But go back in time to like, maybe a decade ago when we used to have MySpace, and that was the biggest thing at the time. And then all of a sudden it just died out. And there are a lot of people who had big communities there. So in kind of like keeping that in mind, the same thing with Twitter when they had Vine, that was a very big platform as well. But then things shifted. So how do you feel in the one platform method, and as opposed to having the multiple platform method, and then keeping in mind with platforms that were really, really, die hard, very big, and then all of a sudden they weren't there, and now creatives have to go to a new platform and start all over again.
I would say, so for me, right, I think definitely have more than one platform in terms of just either through communication and convenience. The way that I see it is everyone uses social media platforms differently, right? So whenever I post a video on YouTube, obviously does not translate over to Facebook. So you sort of have to like play this game, like making really integrated content for that specific social media platform. I can tell you right now, I was pretty blown away to find out that people just know me through Instagram and not so much about my YouTube, which is absolutely insane to me because I thought, oh, obviously people who watches my YouTube video would only follow my Instagram. But no, that's not the case. Like your discoverability on every platform is different and your audience on every platform is very different. So you got to find a way to cultivate each of those audience, right? I think in terms of Facebook, there's definitely, I would say, the range of 25 to 40. So obviously when I'm producing content on the Facebook platform, I gotta keep that in mind. It's like, okay, these people who are on Facebook are older demographic. I should get right to the point with my posts, making sure my links are ready to go right from the top, getting to the point of what my post is about. And then versus like YouTube, I have a little bit more time. I can connect with my audience a little bit more. And Instagram is even more instant. We're talking about an even younger generation. So my photo there has to pop. So it's just tapping into these multiple platforms. But let's just say, like you were saying, like what happens when that one social media platform is gone? It's really tough to say, but the fact that you have another platform to secure some communication, you still have something will kind of help keep you afloat while you try to transition to another, not really transition, but adapt another social media platform. And to that, I say you should also consider also adapting newer platforms that are out in the market right now. I think a lot of people were kind of ignoring TikTok. I'm not going to lie, I ignored TikTok myself. I should have hopped on it because I was
I'm
like,
in
how?
that boat right now because I feel like I don't need a TikTok. So help me understand. Is it something I should explore? Or?
I think when I was watching Gary Vee like this morning. I don't know if anyone here watches Gary Vee as well, but he was saying like, just give it a try, just get into that platform, really invest yourself in that platform and just see how it works. TikTok may not be there tomorrow, but the short form content, these short 1 minute content, these short 6 seconds content would translate to a different platform that might have something similar. So I think it's just a matter of playing with the platform itself. Like for me, I'm playing with the live stream platform. I've someone that's like not very comfortable being on live or being on person like I am right now, but I want to give it a try. I want to get better at it because there might come a time where live streaming will be even more prevalent than it is now.
And I was just going to ask you about that. So you answered my question. And I have a question here too from Ellis Wiener. Being a commercial photography, how does it work if your target audience is business to business and not consumer based?
I think so. A lot of my friends are in the filmmaking industry, and there are times where they've told me they've gotten noticed and they've gotten jobs just through their Instagram. They're not so huge on YouTube, and they may not have that big of a follow. We're talking about not having like 200,000 or more, but they know who their audience is, which is business to business. So the fact that you have a social media platform, let's say Instagram, that houses your portfolio, and the fact that you post stories, you're actually active on your stories, you're posted behind the scenes or whatever. When companies do check on this, when marketing teams do check on this, they'll be like, hey, why not? Why don't we hire this guy to be a director? Why don't we hire this guy to be a director of photography? So there are my friends who are in the whole commercial videography industry, filmmaking industry. They are thriving having their portfolio on Instagram.
Okay, awesome. I think we've gone through all the questions, and
Already?
Yep, and I think we're about to wrap it up a little bit here. But I think you gave us some great knowledge. But like, do you have any kind of like final
Words
for
of
any
wisdom.
right?
Final parting words of wisdom for us, Jason.
Just do it. Just do it. I think this is something that, so if we're talking something a little personal, I think for the past couple of months, I've been struggling to put out content out there just because I've been overthinking a lot. And I think a lot of people right now during this whole COVID-19 situation, they want to start something. They have a lot of times in their hand. They want to start a YouTube channel. They want to start an Instagram. They want to do whatever it is. Just do it. At this time, you have so much free time in your hand. There's not a lot of time to overthink things. If you start overthinking things, you start sabotaging yourself. And this is something that I've struggled for the past couple of months. I'm just like, I don't know what to put out there. I don't know what to do. But this week, I just started practice live streaming. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to get right back into it. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I'm going to try it out anyways. There's no better time to start anything than to start it right now. So I would say whatever idea that's itching to go, just scratch it, just do it. And don't be afraid to always recalibrate and just, fine tune your process. I think with the whole YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, I think everyone loves to see the process. They want to see the behind the scenes. People want to follow your growth and your journey. So I would say don't be afraid of the process. Just do it. And people 5 years from now who will be watching your stuff be like, I remember when you used to shoot videos in your basement or something like that. And that's always a good feeling to have. Just be like, wow, this person followed me for so long. So show the process. Don't be afraid to get down and dirty and put out that content, and always refine it and keep refining it as time goes on.
I think those are great words of wisdom, because I think a lot of us do go through an imposter syndrome where we feel like we're not qualified to put things out, but we have to get out of our own heads and actually get it out there. So
absolutely.
I had severe imposter syndrome, I think, up until a year and a half ago. I was just like, the whole YouTube. Okay, do we have time? Should I
yeah,
get into it?
we're good.
Okay, all right. So I think I was struggling at some point when I had like about 50,000 subscribers. I was like, man, do I belong here? I'm starting to like be in rooms where like there's a lot of big creators or like photographers such as yourselves, and sometimes I'm just like, wow, like I got here. Am I good enough? Like these are like photographers who've done like jobs, $1 million jobs, like filmmakers with like a lot of credibility. And I was just like, dude, I'm a fraud. I don't really belong here. Like I don't know why these people want me here, And then my girlfriend Vivian was just like, I think you have imposter syndrome. I was like, what's that? So I Googled it, I looked it up, and then they were saying like imposter syndrome is like what? Like just, feeling like you
you don't belong, like you're not worthy.
Like you don't, what is it? Yeah, that, and just undeserving of all the success and all the and all your achievements. And then something in my mind just like completely untied, a knot in my head just kind of untied. And I was like, all right, no, I I have every right to be here. I've worked towards being here, and I have my own sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? I pretty much I'm deserving to be here. I think one of the big things is just accepting the fact that you are doing good, and you have every right to be there as everyone else. So I think that's something that really helped me out a lot, and it gave me a lot of confidence to keep putting out content out there. So I think that's very important.
I think that we are all going through that, and getting out of
Yeah.
our own way to put out content is probably our biggest obstacle. I know for me, I have never put out content until the last week. So trying to get out of my own way and just get it out there and learn how to do it has been, it's been tough. But Ken
Yeah.
is bringing me kicking and screaming and dragging me into the 21st century. So,
but it's interesting that I'm doing that for you. And then, Jason and I, we've had conversations about this. After the interview that he did, and my YouTube channel started growing, and people were, even in his comment section on that video, people were saying, does he have a YouTube channel? And even after that time, I still wasn't putting up any content. And the reason I don't is because I look at, like people like Jason, that I'm like, why would you want to watch a video on my channel when you could just watch it on Jason? I mean, he's putting out great content, and things that people want to know. You can just get it on his channel. I think he does a great job. That's why I follow him. That's why I love his channel.
well,
But
Ken, last week we did our first IG live, and somebody said that about me on your stream, was, does she have a YouTube channel? And I'm like, no, it's on my to-do list.
And I look at things like that, and I'm like, why do people care about what I have to say about something? But I since the pandemic, and I started pushing tutorials and more things on my channel, to where I actually posted more videos in a week than Jason. That has never happened before.
Woo!
I did that, and the response has been great. I don't, I still, even now, I'm like, why do people care? Why? That's always in my mind, as far as, you can go elsewhere, and people who do this a whole lot better than I do,
I
just go to their channel.
I can absolutely relate to that. I think like once, I know we were talking about the start of YouTube, but at some point in time, once you start getting that traction, that following, that doubt never really leaves your head. It's just like, well, someone else already put out a review on a ZEISS lens. What can I really put out there, right? What can I really contribute to the conversation? But recently, I watched a video on growing your Twitch audience, and it's really the same thing when it comes to growing any audience on any social media platform. Is that this guy made a really good point. Like, think back to the time when you were a kid and you have that one friend. That friend could have made friends with any other kid in your class, but they chose to be friends with you. So I think that's a really great analogy for growing an audience. Like, out of everyone that they could have watched, they chose to watch you for a reason. Maybe they connected with you through something, maybe through a commonality, maybe an interest, or they just like the way that you talk. Like I feel like every personality has their own audience because their audience can identify with who they're watching with. Like there's a lot of tech channels out there, but there's only like a select few tech channels I would watch. Right. It's the same thing as when it comes to photography or even my own YouTube channel. I know there are certain people who don't want to watch my stuff. They could find me annoying, but that's why I'm only focusing on the people who don't find me annoying, or that would connect well with me, and focus more on them. So I would say finding that audience and connecting with that audience, and focusing on the audience that really wants to connect with you. And there are an audience out there that really want to connect with you, and just focus on them. So you guys have a lot to bring to the table. I am sure of that. So there will be people who'll be watching Tracy who wouldn't want to watch me, So there's definitely people out there, and those are
Maybe
the
they'll
audience that you're
watch
gonna
Wilma.
go for.
We'll get them to all watch Wilma.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wilma the Wonder Dog.
Just start off that intro. It's just like, hi, this is Wilma right here. Then
That's right.
You get more dog. You get more dog followers following you.
That's what I have to offer. I have to offer Wilma.
There you go.
There's a question in the community. One, I guess, I don't know if there are any other questions, but one final one. This one comes from Brandon Cunningham. Can you talk about hashtags for Instagram, and how important are they? Should they always be different? I think that's a pretty good question, as well as, applying that to YouTube as well.
I
can jump on that one. At least from presentational side, it's always good to use a hashtag to broaden your audience. For instance, you're taking pictures of dogs. So rather than just hashtag photo or hashtag Sony, you put hashtag dogs of Instagram, and instantly you'll be in another audience. Someone who may not have seen you now says that you suddenly pop up in their feeds or their lists. The thing I would caution, though, is make sure you know what that hashtag stands for before you use it.
Oh my
because
gosh,
there could
yes.
be something that seems innocuous to you, but it stands for a movement, and it's like Zoom bombing. You just don't want to do it.
I
So always make sure to look it up first.
I feel like you're speaking from experience, Tony.
I've done a lot of training on this, and I've seen it happen. And people have the best intentions. They want to broaden their audience, but if you grab onto something and use it inappropriately, it's going to just be detrimental to what you're trying to do to build your audience.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I noticed that last week with the I did a stay-at-home location tag on Instagram, and it was some restaurant had created it and was all going back to them.
Oh, of course, Tracy, you would find that out later.
Well, you told me one last week. I think I tagged you. You emailed me and said, "Hey, this is what that tag means." I was like, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah, always good to make sure you know what the tag stands for before you use it. And there's lots of great ones out there, but there are a few that are specific to movements or points of view or political affiliations, and you just want to make sure you know what it is before you use it.
So are we using tags on YouTube also, and not just Instagram? Is that
Yep.
um, Yeah, for me, I can't really chime in on that, as I don't know how much hashtags really help a video. I've seen it on top of videos, right? Like on top of the title, you'll see like hashtags. I mean, they're there, and as well as you have the ability to add locations to your video as well, and I guess that would help target certain regions of the earth for your video to show up. So I would say do not neglect it. Definitely try it out. I have tried it out. I can't attest that it works or not, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't really distract people from the video. So if it's in your disposal, hey, why not? But
so?
obviously, don't overpopulate it to the point where it's just like distracting the audience from the
Right, and I
videos.
think also that you want to make sure to. It's kind of hidden when you're setting up your video, but if you scroll down and there's a pull down tab that you can also add keywords, and those are important because that's how the Google algorithm puts you in searches. So that
Hmm.
you make sure, for instance, we have a series of interviews we did at Sundance, so I make sure to keep that in the keywords, so at least it has the opportunity to come up if someone's searching for that type of genre. And I know that works. Although I do have a few videos that I just cannot figure out why they're popular, but I will.
That's the thing, right? That's the thing. You're like sometimes I make videos and I'm like, oh no, this is gonna be garbage. No one's gonna watch this. I'm probably gonna get like 500 views or something like that. And then all of a sudden it just explodes. And not to like downplay the collaboration that Professor Hines and I did. I was just like, I think 100,000 people are gonna watch this. I get it. I get me and Kenneth keep texting each other. It's just like, oh shoot, it's at 150. It's at 200 now, 250, 300, 400. Is this thing going to stop growing? I don't know, man. 400, 500. It just explodes. Like you can never um, predict how a video can do. So I would just say, just put it out there. I think
Yeah, I was
like
totally
sometimes,
surprised because I mean, I'm like, no one knows who I am, and then it was the first time I've ever done a collaboration, and I thought I'm like, okay, maybe a couple thousand or so, but then like, oh my gosh.
your work speaks for itself. Your work speaks for itself.
Well, you guys both have had people in the chat saying, "Hey, collaborate with us." So I think there are a lot of people out there that would welcome that attention.
Absolutely. I'm trying to bring more collaboration to the community. I think uh, what I learned from my collaboration with Kenneth is that, I can share my platform with a lot of people and even to the community that are watching us right now. And I want to loop in more of their work and showcase it in my video. I mean, like, as much as, I want to go out and take a set of my own photos, there are certain genres of photography that I can't really tap into, like astrophotography or portrait photography. I like doing landscapes, I like doing weddings, but that's all my examples are. So by looping more of the community to bring in their work so I can showcase it in my videos I think will, not only get the community involved and further grow that community to people who are coming in and wanting to see how a certain lens perform or what a certain lens can do for them. I think it's just a great way to build community. So that's what I'm definitely focusing on in the next couple of months is just getting, more people like you guys onto the channel and getting people to showcase their work on my channel.
I can help you with portraits. So if you ever need that,
Yes, please.
I got that covered.
Yes, please.
And
Yes,
it's
please.
amazing that's how we all kind of met as well, because Jason and I, after that interview, that's kind of how we connected things. And then Tracy and I asked Tracy about doing Instagram live with me. It was just, we were just randomly texting, and I said, Tracy, would you like to do this with me? I knew she hadn't uh, done Instagram or any live video like that, but I was like, I really love talking to her. She's a great friend. Like, let's try this. Let's just see how it goes. And here we are.
I think so. It's a good start. I mean, just finding someone that you can banter with and have some camaraderie with is like, I think, really the success to a good podcast. I think another I do a Monday live podcast with my buddy Danny every Monday. We were just like, nah, this isn't probably gonna last. And then slowly but surely, the more that we do it, people are just like, dude, this is awesome. I love the interaction between you guys. I'm like, oh, really? We're just two friends hanging out. It's just that chemistry that people really like. So, and you guys have fantastic chemistry. So I think this is going to grow for sure.
Well, thank you.
Awesome. Well, we certainly appreciate that. And I guess we'll wrap things up here. And we're so delighted that we had the honorable Jason Vong to join us today with ZEISS Conversations and share his point of view and of YouTube.
No, Jason, we're not worthy.
And
Nonsense.
we're just so excited that you could be here and share your wealth of knowledge and experience with the community, and hopefully help others who may be in the situation of creating their own YouTube channel and looking to gain traction and just to put all of this stuff together. And so we certainly thank you for that.
Oh, thanks for
Great
having
stuff.
me.
Yeah,
Love
thanks.
to be on again.
Thanks to all
Great
three of you.
conversation. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks, Tony, for organizing
You
this.
bet. Thanks to Kenneth for driving a lot of these questions. Tracy as well. I know that a lot of this is going to go back and show up on your new YouTube page, so that's excellent. And Jason, as always, great friend of the family. Love to have you on. And thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. So thanks to everybody who showed up today. I'm glad to have you all here. We're going to be doing these about once a week for a while now. We're having a lot of fun bringing people together, and we want to make sure that we get the information out to you in a way that is most enjoyable. Hey, if you got any questions too, leave them in the comments section. We'll archive this video in our Learn from Home playlist. That's where you can find it. So thanks again, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you later. Bye now.